I believe that music is a language, and that musicians are but storytellers. I believe it was story that has inspired great art from the creation of mankind to this very day, and I believe that it was story that inspired creative minds to go where words could not go. And it was story that inspired me to discover uncharted musical territory, that inspired me to write this little oratorio that I called the Major Third. And the name the Major Third is not derived from some musical scheme, although the very first note is actually 4 half steps apart from the last one, which is a major third, but the name originates from the story behind it. A story that has become very dear to my soul. A story that has shaped my own story like none other. It's the story of Easter. The story of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's the story of Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday. The story of justice and mercy, wrath and grace. The story of the cross and the empty grave. It's the story of the third day that so majorly changed human history. So how did I go about writing this oratorio? Since both the task at hand and the time frame provided clearly limited this project to only a handful of songs, I decided to devote one to each day. So there is one about Good Friday, one about Holy Saturday, and one about Easter Sunday. And I tried to musically capture each day's set of emotion as well as I could, which turned out to be rather difficult. Because in order to grasp the mixture, the blend of contrasting emotions, one has to understand the context of Easter, and one has to know its protagonist, Jesus Christ. Without knowing who Jesus is, or at least claimed to be, the story of Easter not only loses its meaning, but also its power. So who was this man, Jesus Christ, and why did he have to die on a cross in agony? When people asked Jesus who he was, he often responded using pictures or analogies. So among other things, he said, "I'm the good shepherd. I am the light of the world. I am the way, the truth, and the life." The Bible very clearly states that Jesus was not just a mere human being. He was more than just a moral teacher. The message of the New Testament is that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and therefore God. God who put on flesh. God who decided to live on earth. God who decided to walk alongside the people he created. But why? In the Gospel of John, in the 3rd chapter, Jesus reveals the purpose of his coming. He says, "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn it, but so that the world might be saved through him." Jesus came into this world to save it. But what does the world need to be saved from? What do you and me need to be saved from? Nobody would disagree that there is something wrong with this world, with this terror-shaken, war-stricken world of ours, that there is evil going on causing devastation and sorrow. Evil caused by people. Not by particularly bad people, but by people like you and me. But why? Because it has always been humanity's natural disposition to turn away from the one who is truly and utterly good. Have you ever wondered why you don't have to teach a child to lie, to be mean, to be all about themselves? It's because the capacity for evil has always been within them, just as it has been with you and me. And now there is a world full of people who have rejected good and are headed for destruction. Not just in this life, but in whatever comes after. Because if I'm really honest with myself, and if I look at the mess of a person I sometimes am, do I really believe that on the day I die, heaven's gates swing open wide? An honest introspection clearly shows when Jesus said, "I was sent into this world to save it," he was talking about you and me. Because you and me, we need a savior from ourselves, a savior from this broken world, and a savior from judgment that follows thereafter. And this is the story of Easter. Because on Good Friday, salvation happened. That's why it's called good. It's not called good because some Roman soldiers executed a Jewish teacher on a wooden cross, who was innocent, by the way. It's called good because on that very day, an exchange took place between God and those who put their trust in him. An exchange where people laid down their guilt and shame to receive innocence, where people laid down their mistakes to receive purity. Good Friday is called good because on that day, Jesus paid the debt for sinners, just as if somebody pays somebody else's penalty in court that they themselves could not pay. Jesus was executed, although innocent, so that you and me could be released, although guilty. The story of Good Friday is a story of justice and mercy. God executes justice because evil needs to be judged, but he also executes mercy by taking the punishment himself. But the story of Easter does not end there. What follows is Holy Saturday, a day of silence and confusion. And finally comes the dawn of Easter Sunday, and with it the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that once and for all shows death has been defeated. The price for evil has been paid, and anyone who puts their trust in Jesus Christ will one day rise from the grave, just as he did. And until that day, God himself will guide, counsel, and even come to live in those who are his. The story of Easter is the greatest plot twist in human history. It's the story of hope beyond the grave and grace beyond belief. It's the greatest story ever told that is hardly ever told. And I wanted to change that. So I wrote the major third.